Warning, 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 warning. 3, 2, 1. The FantasyFootballTips.co podcast with Mills and Quigliarno.
Hi, you're listening to FantasyFootballTips.co, the podcast in association with Premier Punt, the home of daily fantasy football betting. My name's Mills, and I'm joined by a dishevelled Quigliarno. How was... let's get straight into it, Quigliarno. Back from fresh, well, I say fresh, but back from a stag do.
Back from Barcelona,
Back from your stag do.
Back from I'm a bit croaky, a bit worse for wear. Vomit has been one of the main features of that stag do.
It certainly has. I mean, we you know, there's the old saying, isn't there? What goes on stag stays on stag.
We'll say no more about it then.
We'll say no more. So we're back, and it's game week 4, and you know, I'm not sure how much time you've had to look into this week in terms of research and catching up on game week 3. What happened? Did you catch any of the games?
An Irish bar, you know, you go to Barcelona, the first thing you suss out is where is that Irish bar. Provided us with Sunday's fixtures, and Pedro seems to have emerged as an instant hit, an instant must-have.
Yeah, hit the ground running, obviously outperformed Hazard, outperformed most midfielders actually last week. Is he a must-have already?
Well, the amount of people that have already put him in, I think already over 200,000 people.
Over 300,000, I think.
Really?
Yeah, it's massive, yeah.
Price will stay. I've got until the 28th to decide. Like, we do follow other people on Twitter as well, and I know, just to give you information, a new player's price is locked in for 7 days, so that isn't going to rise yet until the 28th. Gives me a couple more days to decide on that, but he's definitely someone I'm maybe going to look to get in, whether that's at the sacrifice as Hazard or not, because I do have a rule, really. I do like to say, don't double up from the same club.
So potentially Hazard dropped would save you. I think Hazard has dropped actually. He's 11.4 now.
Yeah.
But still going to save you nearly £2 million if you get Pedro in before his price rises, which it will do.
Yeah, I mean that's some people just do that anyway. They just jump on the bandwagon to get the most team value up, and that does make sense for some people. Although I like to tend to sort of go towards, I'd rather wait till as close as the game week as I can, because you never know what's going to happen in training. Someone picks up a knock.
Absolutely, and then if we look at some of the other fixtures last weekend, Bournemouth and West Ham, I mean, it was goal fest, 7-goal thriller. Callum Wilson, we tipped him pre-season, saying he scored a lot of goals in the Championship, didn't have the balls to put him in ourselves. We saw a price drop, he's now gone back up, but a hat-trick against West Ham. And actually, Bournemouth have decent fixtures over the next 3 or 4 game weeks. So is he someone at 5.5 million who is going to enhance your team?
Well, I think he is, definitely. I think a lot of people will have probably had him on their bench this game week, because he's that cheap striker. That generally, I like to go more top heavy, but I do think he's an option because I'm liking some of the attacking midfielders that are on display at the minute, and I think that if you can save a bit of cash there, maybe go for your Aguero Costa as your twosome. Cheaper striker, and then pump some of the money into the more like goal scoring midfielders.
Yeah, and actually in game week 3 we saw a lot of players having to use their subs. We saw players like Mertesacker, Koscielny, last minute injuries, who that actually meant that they were either low on their numbers or their subs were coming in. So to have someone like Wilson as your first sub is a pretty good strategy, you think? Yeah,
that works out there. I mean, obviously.
I mean, just to kind of go through the next few fixtures for Bournemouth, they've got Leicester at home this week, which, you know, that looks like goals on both sides potentially,
like
yeah. And then they're Norwich away, which, again, sort of Championship team from last season, and then Sunderland at home. So just the next 3 game weeks kind of makes sense for Callum Wilson, you think?
I like Wilson. Richie is another one that people are banging on about, but I prefer Simon Francis at the back, the right back that they've got. Attacking player, gets involved in a lot of stuff, and he's always knocking on the door for bonus points. I think he got an assist and a couple of bonus points this week, but with the goals conceded and a yellow card, that knocked a few points off there. But he is somebody who I rate if you're looking to maybe invest in a Bournemouth defender.
Okay, and I can see you struggling vocally, Quigley. So let's just go on to one more. Just looking at Man City, the 2-0 win away to Everton. Obviously, Aguero didn't get on the score sheet, which was a shame for our team because we captained him. But they're looking good, aren't they? I mean, Everton's not an easy place to go and get a 2-0 win, and it was fairly convincing.
They look a safe bet. They look rejuvenated.
Zabaleta. Sorry, not Zabaleta. Sanya and Kolarov, who are both in there getting the games. Although Zabaleta's out till mid-September, so Sanya is pretty safe in there at 5.5.
Yeah. I mean, he is, but then you're going to be looking to transfer him out again. I'm not sure whether he's the best bet there, but the problem that you have with those teams is always that rotation risk, because Zabaleta is probably first choice right back. Kolarov and Clichy are always battling that out. Company is the one in there, the safe bet really. Corners is always lethal from, and I think a bonus point player there as well.
Okay, Quigliano. So before we get straight in with the tips this week, which I think is going to come fairly swiftly, we've got Chris, your friend of the show, Chris Novaks. He's been on Twitter again.
Old CN.
He loves us.
Navasky.
He loves you particularly, I think. Chris wants to know, Diego Costa is saying he thinks he's going to have a really strong next 5 game weeks. What are your thoughts on that?
I thought he looked quality at the weekend.
Goal and assist, yeah.
Goal and assist. Not just that, like he's able to. He's tightly marked, but he always seems to be able to make that space to get a shot away or to do something with it. And he's always hanging around the edge of that box, and they don't really have any other options up front for me. So yeah, I agree with that. Novak's coming round, because I also hasn't he dropped Walcott? Hasn't he? Didn't I try and tell him to do that?
I'll tell you what he has done. He's dropped Hazard. So I'm not sure what your thoughts are on that. He's played his wild card and he's dropped Hazard.
Dangerous, but I imagine he's put Pedro in, hasn't he?
So, I would imagine so, yes.
So I like that, and I like that he's finally coming around to listening to me and getting rid of Walcott. I mean, it'd be interesting to see when he actually does kick in Walcott, but
yeah, I mean, just a thought on Walcott. He looked like a good bet pre-season, but he's just not had the game time, has he? Wenger's just not gone with him.
I mean, I think most people didn't anticipate to see Sanchez until this game week. He's come back earlier than maybe anticipated. Need to see more from Arsenal. Yet again, frustrating after what was a good pre-season, beating Chelsea. I was full of hope, but we'll watch this space on them.
I mean, actually, just while we're on the subject of wildcards, quickly, Arno, we've got to bring something up here.
We do have a little friend in our own mini league, the private one, members only, and it's an exclusive club. Am I going to expose his name? Is that legally?
I think that's absolutely fine. I mean, the gravity of this situation, I think he deserves to have his name sort of up there.
So I'll let you do that.
So, okay. So I'm liable. Okay, so our good friend Shane Evans.
Shout out. Decided to play his wild card. Not one of the better players. Always sort of hangs around the bottom of that league.
Does, however, at this point in time, he was actually up top, wasn't he?
He was up top, doing very well, setting the pace. And obviously, as you play that wild card, it obviously says confirm wild card, and then any transfer after that point is free of charge. You can change it up until the deadline.
Yeah, and I think he'd made 9 changes, so it's kind of, you know, if you weren't to play your wild card, that'd be about minus 18 points, something like that.
Wasn't he minus 32? I'm sure he was minus 30.
Oh, because of course, if you're making changes through the week. So anyway, sorry, quickly, I
basically, you've probably cottoned on. He thought he'd played his wild card because he was making all these changes, but he failed to click confirm wild card. So he took the minus 32 point hit.
I mean, he was on suicide watch for most of the weekend, wasn't he? After that,
I mean, people are saying what a waste, man, but I don't like to comment on that. But yeah, we had the disaster of the triple captain for Courtois. We've now got the disaster of failing to confirm a wild card. Who are these clowns? I
mean, we need to get a screenshot, and that needs to go on Twitter, I think. So I'll leave you to hunt that down, Quigliano. But I mean, just to quickly sort of wrap up that wild card, we're not too upset if people are playing it, or it's probably quite amateur to do so. But you did it last season, didn't you? And it worked out quite well for you.
It helped, but it's just again, it's up to you. You got to live and die by it. I'm trying to be stronger this year because I want to have that luxury of double game week, making as many changes as I want to tailor my team to pick up as many points. And then with triple captain as well, I'll be looking to do some damage there and maybe pick up some of this lost ground currently.
Okay, we'll be back after this with our game week tips.
You are listening to Mills and Quigliano on the FantasyFootballTips.co podcast. Sponsored by Premier Punt. All your fantasy Premier League tips in one juicy little podcast. Get in touch at www.fantasyfootballtips.co.
Okay, so Quigliano, probably at the point in the show now where this is what everyone has tuned in for, really, our tips for the week. So I'm going to come straight in for you to give me our Gary of the week, our guaranteed performer for game week 4.
Gary of the week, everyone probably already knows this one, and if you haven't got him in your team, you need to for this game week. Sergio Aguero. Okay, they've got Watford at home. That's got 3 goals written on it.
It could have,
Okay,
couldn't it?
I don't like to normally predict that, but he's in my team for that reason, and I'd be an idiot to not captain him because everyone else in the league is going to be captaining Sergio Aguero.
Triple captain potential? Or would you prefer to save it for a double game week?
I think potential, yeah, because if I'm calling 3 goals, if any player gets a hat-trick, you want to triple that.
Absolutely.
However, double game weeks are where it's normally at for your big points hauls, because even if they don't score, you're going to triple what hopefully is a double 90-minute performance.
Absolutely, yeah. Anyone else in that kind of guaranteed bracket?
I think it's the week of the big boys.
Yeah,
Okay?
I think this is the week, isn't
That's
it?
not
Where
a group of strippers that I've got coming round. Those are.
I think they featured on your stag do.
They actually no, and that's slanderous, so I won't have that. It's Chelsea, Liverpool, and Man City. Those are the main teams. They're at home. They're against weaker opposition. They are the stronger clubs, and I'm anticipating some big things from those.
Okay, so you're saying Benteke, you're saying Coutinho potentially.
We've got usuals from Chelsea. We've already talked about Costa.
Yeah.
Pedro is a very good option. So is Hazard. And then from Man City, we like Yaya, we like Aguero,
Silva.
Yeah. There is just too many to choose from.
Okay, so let's look at the long shot, the Xabi Alonso.
We've got 2 there, 2 long shots, and you can take your pick. Shaqiri from Stoke, a player we like from watching World Cup last season, and I haven't followed his career massively, but I know he's a big talent.
And a good debut.
Yeah, and he did have a good debut and looked very dangerous in that, actually. So he's a long shot. Again, if you fancy maybe making a bit of ground on someone, he's an option. And also we like those fixtures that Wilson has got at Bournemouth. So those are our 2 long shots.
Okay, I'm liking that. And so let's go to our Delia Smith. Where are you?
Let's be having you. Where are you? Where are you in the Premier League, Memphis Depay? Because you're doing my Sweden. I looked at those fixtures last week and I thought, do you know what? He scored against Bruges. I'm going to hold tight on him.
Yeah, I mean, we said Wayne Rooney last week, didn't we, as our where are you? And he's still out there in the wilderness, as is Memphis Depay, as you say, in the league. And both of those players are in our podcast team, which is killing us, isn't it, really?
He's floundering for me. That isn't acceptable.
We're only 3 game weeks in. 3 games.
Look at some of the other players new to the Premier League that have performed already. Your man Ayew. Am I saying that right?
I thought that was one player then.
Andrew Ayew.
So I thought there was a new player, Manayu.
Your man Ayew.
Ayew. Yeah, I mean he did hit the ground running, didn't he? Yeah, so they're the players who we're still concerned about. So that probably brings me on, Quigliano, to our podcast team, actually. And, we're looking at our team, and we do have Depay in there. We do have Wayne Rooney in there. And we've said they're Delias both weeks. We can't keep Delias in our team.
We can't, because they're a liability. That's why they're called Delias. Rooney's head's on the chopping board. I mean, I think you were looking at last season as well. How many games has he gone now without scoring?
He's not scored since April, so I think it's like 10 games.
He has to go. And we like the fixtures that Bournemouth have got. Leicester at home, a bit of form as well. Wilson's going in.
So Wilson in, so we're saving ourselves nearly £5 million there.
And that is where we're looking. We're not going to take -4 hits.
No, we'll be saving that money. It's in the bank, gaining interest, if only. But next week we're going to invest that. Have we got thoughts on that already? Because I think we discussed that Pedro potential, didn't we? And yeah. I know we've got Hazard in the team, and what you said on having 2 players from Chelsea. But are they 2 players perhaps that we might want to have?
I think if you were to do it, if you were to break that rule, those are probably the 2 players to do it for, because they are both the attacking ends of that Chelsea team, and that they did look a lot more dangerous against West Brom. I mean, defensively, I still don't think that they're not where they need to be.
No.
But going forward, it might actually be Mourinho has to change it and go, forget the bus driver, we'll just go forward and score more goals than the other team.
Yeah, and if you look at last season, the first half of the season for Chelsea, they were the attacking team, and it was the second half of the season where they kind of parked the bus a bit more and went for the 1-0 wins. So I think you might see a similar pattern this season. So at this stage, we're penciling in, we're saying we're dropping Rooney, Wilson's going in, and we're thinking on Saturday, which is unorthodox for us, but on Saturday, to avoid the Pedro price rise, we're going to drop Ibe, who we've got in at 5 million, and we're going to bring in Pedro, and that will balance our team out again in terms of value and cost.
Because Ibe's going to make way for Firmino, isn't he? That is the long-term plan, and we didn't really get any change out of him, did we?
We didn't. That does still keep Depay in our team, so we're going to keep the faith in Depay for 1 more week. Well, it might have to be 2 more weeks based on what we're saying there.
But potentially, yes. I mean,
there's a long way to go between now and then, isn't there?
There's a lot of chat to be had in between that. I'll probably be in dialogue with Chris Novak just to make sure that he's okay, help him, can sort of manipulate him through the system, probably ruin his team if I can.
I mean, I just do want to point out that we do have other listeners. We do have other fans other than Chris Novak. It's just that Chris Novak is probably one of our... Is he a favourite?
He's currently a favourite. He's very proactive.
He's very proactive indeed, and he talks about us quite a lot. So Chris Novak, he's out there. But listen, go to the website. There's not just the podcast. It's fantasyfootballtips.co. We've got tips coming in every day this week, Quigliano. We're working very, very hard behind the scenes. So make sure you go to the website. Obviously, you can follow us on Twitter, FPL_The Source, and make sure you check out our site sponsors and podcast sponsors, PremierPunt.com, the home of daily fantasy football betting. I've been Mills.
I've been a croaky Quigliano.
And we'll see you next time.
Warning, 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 warning. 3, 2, 1. The FantasyFootballTips.co podcast with Mills and Quigliano.